went off, leaving him half dead. Jesus continues. By coincidence a priest was going down on that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the opposite side. But a certain Samaritan traveling the road came upon him, and at seeing him, he was moved with pity. Luke 10. 30-33. The man to whom Jesus tells this story certainly knows that many priests and Levite temple assistants live in Jericho. To return from the temple, they must travel down a road some 14 miles. That route can be dangerous, with robbers lurking along it. If a priest and a Levite find a fellow Jew in distress, should they not help him? In his story, Jesus relates that they did not. The one who did was a Samaritan, a man from a people whom the Jews despise. John 8. 48. How did the Samaritan help the injured Jew? Jesus goes on. He approached him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. Then he mounted him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, "Take care of him, and whatever you spend besides this, I will repay you when I return." Luke 10. 34-35. After telling the story, the master teacher, Jesus, asks the man this thought-provoking question. Who of these three seems to have a Samaritan proves to be a real neighbor? Luke 10. 25-37, 172, made himself neighbor to the man who fell victim to the robbers. Perhaps the man feels uncomfortable in answering the Samaritan, so he replies, "The one who acted mercifully toward him." Jesus then makes the lesson of his story unmistakably clear, urging, "Go and do the same yourself." Luke 10. 36-37. What an effective method of teaching. Had Jesus simply told the man that non-Jews also are his neighbors, would the man and the other Jews listening have accepted that? Likely not. However, by relating a rather simple story, using details that the listeners can identify with, the answer to the question, "Who really is my neighbor?" becomes obvious. The person who proves to be the real neighbor is the one who exercises the love and kindness that the scriptures command us to show. How to inherit everlasting life? A neighborly Samaritan. Why might a certain man question Jesus about how to gain everlasting life? Who do the Jews believe are their neighbors, and why? How does Jesus make clear the correct view of who is our neighbor? 173. On the eastern slope of the Mount of Olives, about 2 miles from Jerusalem, lies the village of Bethany. John 11. 18. Jesus goes there and enters the house of 2 sisters, Martha and Mary. They and their brother, Lazarus, are Jesus' friends, and they warmly welcome him. It is an honor to have the Messiah as a visitor. Martha is eager to provide well for Jesus, so she sets to work preparing an elaborate meal. While Martha works, her sister, Mary, sits at Jesus' feet and listens to him. In time, Martha says to Jesus, "Lord, does it not matter to you that my sister has left me alone to attend to things? Tell her to come and help me." Luke 10. 40. Rather than criticizing Mary, Jesus counsels Martha for being overly concerned with material provisions. "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and disturbed about many things. A few things, though, are needed, or just one. For her part, Mary chose the good portion, and it will not be taken away from her." Luke 10. 41, 42. Yes, Jesus points out that it is not necessary to spend a lot of time preparing many dishes. Just a simple meal will suffice. Martha's intentions are good. She wants to be hospitable. But her anxious attention to the meal means that she is missing out on valuable instruction from God's own Son. Jesus emphasizes that Mary made a wise choice, one that will be of lasting benefit to her as well as a lesson for all of us to remember. On another occasion, Jesus provides a different but equally important lesson. A disciple asks him, "Lord, teach us how to pray, just as John also taught his disciples." Luke 11. 1. Jesus had already done so about a year and a half earlier in his Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 6. 9-13. However, this disciple may not have been present then, so Jesus repeats the key point.